Good evening, and welcome back to the Same Old Arsenal podcast post game show. Well, let me tell you, it's taken me about an hour and a half to get home. I've rushed in, quickly ate something, sat down, logged on, and it feels like an amazing time to be talking about a lovely 5-0 win. So, joining me tonight is my podcast, bruv. The other one is probably still at the Arsenal, but hello, Cookie.
Hello, hello. How are we all? Hope we're all doing very well. We should be after that, shouldn't we?
Yeah, lovely. Um, do you know what? I don't actually know where to start. It's been such a lovely game. There was no stress. There was no anxiety. To be fair, United are a very poor team. They only had 1 point to start the day. They've ended up with only 1 point again. Um, not easy. And I always feel that when a team comes and low blocks and parks a bus, that we knew what it was going to be like for us. And boy, was it like that. So, James, I felt the stadium was very subdued for about 25 minutes. It was quite quiet, which is very unusual. And obviously, I think post Champions League, although, yes, he did change a few around, and we'll get to that in a second. Um, I wasn't shocked. So let's start at the beginning. Um, Team comes out, and our boy ESR is back. Cooks, wasn't it lovely to see?
Yeah, just the rotation in general was really nice to see, but particularly to see Smith Rowe get his first start since Newcastle in 2022 in May in the Premier League. That is so 18 months virtually since he's
Yep.
had a start in the Premier League, which feels mental because I know his injury was quite bad, but he was on the bench a lot of last season, never really got a look in, and it's crazy when you think what a good player he is. And don't get me wrong, I'm not gonna wax lyrical about him today and talk about how amazing he was, but it was a good performance. Like it certainly wasn't a bad performance. Got the assist for the goal. He just needs more minutes, I think, and we're going to see, the Emil Smith Rowe of old. And it's good to see that Arteta trusts him in a Premier League game, albeit against Sheffield United. But last season, had we taken a few players out and rotated, I don't think we'd have won in the way that we did today. But we've got players like Kivior that you can bring in for someone like Gabriel, who I thought was excellent today. You've got someone like Eddie Nketiah, who I'm sure we'll go on to, that was absolutely, magnificent. And then you can make changes by bringing in the likes of Smith Rowe and Havertz. I love the rotation, absolutely loved it. I've been crying out for this sort of thing for a long, long time, to just bring quality players in
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
don't drop the level of the team. But the only one that I was a little bit disappointed with was, if Arteta's viewing this game as one where we can make a lot of rotation, I would have liked to have seen Ramsdale play if it was seen as kind of a relatively risk-free game. But I have a feeling you've got a point you might want to make on that.
I knew you were going to say that, and that is why I put Phil Macker's message up. Actually, it was Melissa's I want to put up. Hold on a second. I think I clicked on the wrong one. There we go. Melissa said I was a bit surprised Ramsdale didn't get the start. So as you were talking, I knew you were gonna come on to Ramsdale. It is a bit surprising. I'm not sure. I can't explain it. Normally, I can have reasons, injuries, doesn't fit in the game plan, doesn't fit in the tactics, but I haven't got a reason for it. And I think if I ever met Arteta in the street, it would be the one question I would ask him. It really would be. So let's start. So Gabriel, was he on the bench, Gabriel, or was he out? He was on the bench. Listen, you know what? We talk about squad depth, and it is the most amazing thing to sit there and go, the when he changes the team, James, it is incredible. Anyone that's coming on, I mean, who would have thought Ben White would be substituted and we're just as happy with the replacement? This is what we've needed for years. This is what Wenger didn't have. This is what Emery didn't have. We didn't have that bench. We didn't have people that could come off the bench and win games for us. And now we've got it. So let's just chat about Ramsdale. Also, people in the chat room, we are definitely going to take your questions. We're going to star them and we're going to bring them up during the conversation tonight, because it's all going to be about what we're talking about. So absolutely get your questions in now. Also, I'm just really pleased to say that, we're sponsored by Ruth Beckart. We'll show you some of her fantastic Christmas cards later. I'll get my assistant on the left, right, wherever he is, to put them up so you can see. Also, go and visit her website, Ruth Beckart and also her Etsy shop, because honestly, the Arsenal stuff that she draws is just incredible. So let's just start off with that. So I felt like I could I could write the script, James. It was a little bit sideways, backwards, slow. I knew it was going to be like that, and I just felt I had no fear today that we were going to lose, and that's not a good feeling to have. Not for me, because I was super confident, even though I only went for 1-0. I was super confident, um, and I just felt it was. I just expected it. Did you expect the first half an hour how it was?
I'm not really sure what to expect from this game because I think we all knew exactly how Sheffield United were going to play. And I think that was exacerbated by them also having so many injuries going into this game. So it gave them even more of an incentive to sit off and try and hold on for a 0-0 damage limitation, whatever it may be. And I think that led to what was, I think, a very good opening 5 to 10 minutes where we kind of peppered them. But then when we didn't get that breakthrough, it just really slowed down for about probably 30 odd minutes. And I think we ended the half strongly. The Nketiah goal was really important because if we'd have gone in at half time 0-0, I feel like that would have left a fairly somber atmosphere. And I do think, like you alluded to earlier, it was a little bit mellow in the crowds. I don't think, the fans were that excited by what they were seeing.
No.
There was a lot of passing around the back, no real dynamism in the team. It wasn't that exciting to watch if we're being quite blunt and quite honest about it. But we did get that goal, and that's the thing that, opened up the game a little bit more. But I still think even at 1-0, Sheffield United still played in that more reserved manner. I don't think it was actually until we got the second goal that they came out a little bit and thought, the only way we're going to get something from this game is if we try and attack them. But yeah, it was a very, very tough team to break down. And okay, Sheffield United, bottom of the table. I think they've conceded the most goals in the league. But at the same time, they are a side that have made it very difficult at Spurs away, made it very difficult for City at home. They're a spirited team. And once we got that first goal, like I say, and once we got that second, it was there for the taking. So really pleased with the result. Wasn't overly pleased with the first half performance, but it's a game where you've got to be patient.
Okay, so PW says, Amanda, it is hard to get through 2 blocks of 5, which is exactly what I said to Carl in the cafe. That's what they're going to do. That's it. They're just going to park a bus. And I so agree with you. And it is. But we've always found it harder over the years than a lot of teams. I've always felt like that. I felt like if City were playing there today, them today, and I know that when they went to Tottenham, they were 1-0 down with 89 minutes gone and they scored 2, didn't they, Tottenham? But yeah, so let's just talk about. I mean, I don't know how much more I can say about Declan Rice. I just, I don't know, Cooks, what to say, but he was the assist for Eddie's lovely turn and first goal. Is there anything this man can't do? I mean, apart from goalkeeping, and maybe he can do that. But you know that we know, obviously, his youth team coach. He's been on our pod a couple of times. When he talks about Declan Rice, you often listen and think, wow, 105 million is absolutely nothing for this player. Just talk us through the first goal.
I think at that point in the game, we just needed someone to grab it by the scruff of the neck. And that's exactly what Declan Rice is. It's what he's all about. It just epitomizes him, that guy that's just going to make something out of absolutely nothing. And we've spoken about it so many times, but I really do think he should be playing higher up the pitch. And we've seen in the past 2 games against Sevilla and Chelsea, he's been deployed, in that left 8 role. And I really think he's flourished. And his contributions to goals in terms of assists and goals himself is looking really good this season already for a guy that we traditionally think of as a defensive midfielder, but he is so much more than that. He has got so many more attributes to his game, but I think we're in such a beautiful position with him is that we can evolve this midfield in several ways, whether that's him playing in that left 8 role, whether it's him playing at the 6, because he's good enough to play both of those positions to a world-class level. So it's very exciting, very, very exciting. But in a game like today, where he was playing at the 6, I think we were expecting to play maybe a little bit more deeper, which he did do. But because we were having so much of the ball, he had that license to get forwards. And yeah, the ball he put in, I mean, it was very Jacker-esque of last season. He put in a lot of those types of balls. So it was great to see him do that. And it just needed someone to do it because we weren't putting the ball in the box anywhere near enough. But you've got to credit Eddie as well, because that was a really, really hard
Just
finish.
stop there a second. Do you agree with that comment from over and over and over again? Deck is our best midfielder since Patrick Vieira 4.
Cool. Are we forgetting a certain Francis Coquelin? No, I'm joking. Yeah, I think on these initial games, I mean, I think it's too early to compare him to Patrick Vieira, but he's certainly heading in that direction. I can't think of a single bad game he's had for us yet. And if he's able to keep up this level of, let's be honest, world-class consistency over the course of the season, yeah,
Yeah.
I would definitely agree with that comment. But I can't think of anyone we've had in that, defensive midfield, box-to-box sort of role, just the all-encompassing midfielder. I can't think of anyone that even comes close to him. Like, we've had some very good midfielders in the past. Jack Wilshere, if it wasn't for the injuries. Aaron Ramsey, again, had his own injury problems in recent years. But yeah, for me, he's just so consistent. You know exactly what you're getting from him every single game. And I think, yeah, he's well on his way to being up there with Patrick Vieira.
I totally agree on that. Absolutely. And also, John Rose said, do you think it was right that Saka was given the captain's armband, or do you think Declan should have been given the captain? I said that to Carl when I was sitting there. I went, I wouldn't have given it to Saka. Not that he doesn't deserve it, but I just want the boys to play football. I think Declan Rice, well, we know he's going to be the next captain. I think he should be the vice captain. And I just think that it could have been him today. Any thoughts on that, or does it really matter? Because to be honest, he's a leader in midfield anyway.
I don't think it makes a difference, to be quite honest, whether he's got the armband or not. It would be a very nice, sentimental thing to do, and I think I'm sure we will see him wear the armband at some point this season. But Saka's been in the club a long time. For him, I think is a massively, massively proud moment. So I had no issues with that. I agree with you. Doesn't need to be a big thing. It would be nice for
No.
him to. I don't think he would care if Rice had it. I think it was interesting when Saka came off. His immediate intention was to give it to Rice, but Rice immediately pointed to Nketiah. So you can see
Oh,
it doesn't impact Rice at all. And yeah, he doesn't need the armband, but I would love to see him be captain, but that would mean it would have to be taken off of Erdegaard, which could be a bit awkward. They're both the same age. So yeah, but he's the captain without the armbands, and it's great to have players like that.
also, I think Yamara's hit it on the head. He's a leader with or without it. Absolutely, really is. Okay, so let's talk about Eddie's goal, the first of his goals. Loved it. Beautiful turn. It was just, it's just what he needed, a really good goal. I loved it. I really enjoyed it, and it just set us up. I think it was what, about half an hour in, was it? I can't remember. It's all such a blur. When you have so many goals, you can't remember off what times and what halves they were in as well.
Yeah, it was about it. It was at the point where we needed to score, basically, because the game was getting really, really slow, a little bit boring, a bit lethargic. But he took it so well. Like I say, that cross from Rice was fantastic. But for him to, spin, control the ball, and the finish, I mean, that was world class, wasn't it? And this is what I really
Yeah.
like about Nketiah. When he hasn't got time to think about it, he's very good. When he just hasn't got that opportunity, one on one, where he's got, seconds upon seconds to think
Mm.
about what he's going to do with the ball. Just those instinctive finishes, being in the right place at the right time. That's Eddie Nketiah down to a T. And I think that summed up two of his goals at least today. We'll get on to the thirds, but wow, what a goal that was. But yeah, he started it off with a brilliant one, ended it with a brilliant one, and just a very instinctive one in the middle of the hat trick. But I'm so happy for him because he gets a lot of criticism from myself included as well. But he showed today that he can do it at a Premier League level. And he's got 5 goals in 10 appearances in the Premier League. And he's not started a lot of games. And I know obviously today you could argue there's a bit of stat padding in there. But, you can only beat what's put in front of you. And if he could be a player that can contribute at least 10 goals in a Premier League season for us, that would be really big, I think.
Okay, so Robert's got a question. Welcome to the show, and everyone actually, welcome to everybody in the show, because we've got our regulars in and we've got new people as well. So new gooners as well. Welcome to the show, Robert Stevens. Do you think Nketiah will start against West Ham and Newcastle? Because in my opinion, I'd rather Trossard against both. Slightly controversial, I know.
Ooh, that's a really tricky one. I think you've got to start him in at least one of them. Because you can't drop a guy that's just bagged a hat trick, can you? I think you've got to play players that are in confidence, in form, and I'm pretty sure he'll be starting the Newcastle away one. It's the West Ham one that I'm not too sure about. And I would actually like to see Kai Havertz start as centre forward rather than Leandro Trossard. I've not got an issue with Trossard starting there, to be honest, but we need a focal point, and we also need Kai Havertz to, get some contributions. So for me, in the West Ham game, I think I would be looking to play Big Kai up top and then Eddie at Newcastle.
Barnaby Jones, our United friend. Hello, Barnaby. We're not going to mention your team, although we would like you to win tomorrow, if possible. Question: do you think that Nketiah is a long-time striker for Arsenal as a bench player? I personally think he is West Ham level. Now, a lot of people think this. I have to be honest. Friend of the show, Alan Alger, already tweeted me this evening. You know what he's like with his Eddie comments. However, this is a United fan asking us. I do and I don't. If I have to answer this, it's a very hard one with Eddie because on days like today, you think we want this every match, but we won't be playing Sheffield United every match. He won't get as many chances like this every match, and he needs to take more chances. Cooks, he gets them. He needs to put it in the back of the net.
Yeah, it's a really tricky one because so many of us are calling out for someone that can be that number 2 player, but is also happy to sit on the bench, that is also kind of at the level of Gabriel Jesus. And I hate to say it, but that player doesn't exist. You're not going to get someone that's, really, really good, but it's also going to be a number 2 striker. It's a bit like the goalkeeper position, the striker, you've got your number 1. And I think it's quite clear at the minute that head and shoulders, Gabriel Jesus is the number 1. But the beautiful thing about Eddie is he kind of falls into that category of being above average, but he's also not quite good enough to usurp Gabriel Jesus, which means I wouldn't say he's happy to sit on the bench, but he is probably self-aware enough to know his place in this team. But he works so hard, doesn't he? It wasn't just his goals today, but his work ethic. The number of times he harried down the goalkeeper, was harrying down defenders. Really, really, pleasing performance from him in terms of pressing. If we were able to keep him as a number 2 or an alternative option, that'd be great because I think that would be his place in this Arsenal team. However, given the goals he scored, given he's a player that I think plays on the turn, has that instinctive finish on him, if he was to play, in maybe not necessarily a bottom 10 side, but a side that's going to play on the counter, play at pace against teams like us when they're looking to break, and he's the one at the end of it, I think he would do really well in those sides. I think he could easily be a 15 goal a season striker. But this is a big season for him. If he's able to get, like I say, at least 10 goals for us, I think it's just his all-round game that people are going to question, isn't it? Because as good as he was today, he still doesn't do the hold-up play, the bringing up of people into the game. He wouldn't get the assist that Gabriel Jesus got the other night in Sevilla, for example. But he's brilliant in his own way, and he's definitely got a place in his team. Whilst he's scoring goals, it would be silly to think otherwise.
Yeah, okay. So, goal number 2. Take us through that one.
I'm trying to remember it. It was.
So am I, actually. That's why
it was from the corner, wasn't it?
Was it Ben White corner?
I just remember it being an in-swinging corner, falling to Nketiah, who just took it again. Another one of those instinctive finishes. Really good finish as well, like nowhere near the keeper, basically into the corner roof of the net. And then we had that slight worry with VAR trying to rule it out, which by the way, it felt like VAR were trying really hard not to give us anything today. I'm not trying to be biased there at all, but they tried to rule out the Tomiyasu goal, they tried to rule out the Nketiah goal. They weren't too keen to give us the penalty. It was I'm probably reading too much into it, and at the end of the day, it doesn't matter. But yeah, great goal. Thankfully, no VAR intervention, and at 2-0, I think that's when the game really started to come to life from our point of view.
It's a Saka corner, as Lynn said. I couldn't remember if it was the Ben corner or the Saka corner. And also, was that the one with the screamer in the top of the net, or was that number 3? Honestly, I've lost.
That was 3.
That was number 3. Well, number 2. My brain's gone a little bit. So we're 2-0 up. We're starting to cruise now, aren't we? I don't remember Sheffield United having a shot, if I'm honest.
They didn't have a shot on target. They had 2 shots, none on target. 0.02 or 0.03 XG, which you got to say, although that first half was a bit boring at times, we limited them to absolutely nothing, which is very satisfying, I think.
Um, the possession must have been what 99.9% in the first half. So do we go in at 2-0 or 3-0? I've lost the plot
We went
tonight.
into half time at 1-0.
Was it 1-0?
Yeah,
No, it couldn't have been 1-0
it
because he
was.
scored down the clock end.
No, it was 1-0.
Was it?
It was, yeah.
No.
It
Eddie
was.
scored twice down there, didn't
No,
he?
he didn't. He scored
Right, can
once.
someone because obviously
I'll tell you right now, we
it
scored the
doesn't even
first
look
goal on
like
the
me and Cooks
28th.
were at the bloody Emirates
No,
because we can't even work it out.
well, speak
Uh,
for yourself. He scored in the 28th, then he scored in the 50th.
Oh,
Come on,
I thought the
Amanda.
roof. Do you know what? Yeah, you're right. I do apologise. I thought the roof of the net was down the clock end. That's why I'm confused. Okay, ignore me. Ignore me. I'm having a moment. I think what happened was when I looked at the replay, I was looking down that end because obviously at the screen, um, that was just yes, of course it was. It was down my end, our end. 2-0. Beautiful goal. Beautiful football. Screamer in the top of the net, and it's already again. I have not been on the sauce, young Phil. I honestly, my brain went because I think when I looked for the replay of the goal, I remember looking down there. Ignore me, everybody. Sorry, everyone on audio. Must be boring you to pieces. Um, who was the assist for that one? Was that ESR? Was that the ESR assist?
For the third one, yeah, that was, I
I've
mean,
got it completely wrong, haven't I?
yeah,
So,
don't worry. Now,
so,
go on, go on.
so we're 2-0 up. Um, he scores that screamer. And then the third goal was the ESR assist. Oh my life, I should have looked at these goals back because there's been so many.
Yeah, that was a
Um,
screamer.
what did we think? But I want to talk about ESR. We've got some questions about him, but overall, I mean, it was so lovely to see him. He looks like he's bulked up. And Steve Stone said, did ESR make the most of his opportunity today?
I mean, what what would you be expecting of him? I think you've got to be a bit realistic with your expectations with someone that's coming into a Premier League match from the start. You know, his minutes in the Premier League have been so few and far between in the past, 15, 16 months and beyond. He was such a key part of this team the season before last. When he was coming off the bench, it felt like he was scoring at every single opportunity. I still remember how good he was in the North London derby at home in, I think, 2020, 21, 22, or the season before that. He's been good in a few North London
Yeah.
derbies, but he looked good today. It felt like he got his burst back, his acceleration back. Was flying into challenges, won a few aerial duels, which you don't really associate with Smith Rowe. Like I said, I said at the start of the pod, I wasn't going to wax lyrical about him. I don't want to get, in over my head because I do love the kids and I think he's got so much to offer this team. But I think we've got to be realistic with his expectations. I do think he will get back to his best, but we've got to be patient. Games like this are absolutely perfect for him.
Yeah.
And so is the one that's coming up in the week against West Ham. And I'd have zero qualms over him playing again. It was actually unfortunate not to score today. He had a very good shot saved by the keeper. But for him to get an assist, I mean, all the credit to Eddie, but, it's Smith Rowe that creates the opportunity. Granted, yeah, like I say, it's Eddie that does all the work. But just to bring the ball down, play it into the path of him, it's a great stat that I think will do him the world of good in his first Premier League start, and Arteta will be pleased with that as well. And it was a good performance. It was solid. There was nothing bad to say about it whatsoever. Really pleased with him. Hope he plays again in midweek against West Ham, and let's hope this is the resurgence of a very good player.
It's like he needs games, isn't it? I
It
mean, I
is.
thought he did well. So I thought, well, they all did well. And interestingly, I suppose man of the match would go to Eddie. Although Declan again, I mean, we'll talk about him in a moment. Okay, so that's goal 3. Goal 4, I do know is the penalty. Okay, now that I do know. I personally, so when they went to VAR for the first one, not VAR, yeah, and he didn't give it. I didn't think it was a penalty, but then I have seen other people say that that one was a penalty. Now, the penalty that was actually given, what was your first thoughts on it?
Is it in the box? Were my
Yeah.
first thoughts because it was right in front of me in the North Bank, and I just couldn't tell if it was on the line, if it was just out, just in. It looked absolutely stonewall. I was amazed that he didn't give it on the field. The first one, okay, I could kind of understand it, but the second one, yeah, I mean, surely the referee has to blow for that one. But then, yeah, went to the monitor and again took his sweet time to give it. But again, like some of the other penalties he's won this season, it was just obvious. And then the Sheffield United player got a yellow card. So, if that's not evidence enough that this was a clear foul, that certainly should have been. And yeah, credit to Vieira for stepping up and taking it. It was him that won the penalty. And again, another player that needs confidence because he started the season well, but he's another one that's slowly been phased out over the past couple of games. We've not seen a lot of him. So it's important. Like games like this are so important because although it seems very routine and we've only beaten bottom of the league, for all of these players going all the way to, Mohamed El Neni, all of them are getting minutes. Team morale is boosting. And yeah, if someone like Fabio Vieira can chip in and get a goal, why not? All for it.
Steve Stone said, "What are your thoughts on Eddie giving Fabio the ball for the penalty kick?" Do you know what I loved about that? That the team morale, the team spirit, and the team unity, just have it. You need it for your confidence. Just have it. Now, at 0-0, I don't know if that would have happened, but at 3-0 up, absolutely. I actually videoed the first time I've ever videoed anything in 50 years. I videoed the penalty because I was that confident at 3-0 up that he was going to score. I wasn't stressed about it. And I actually videoed it. And when you actually see it back, it was actually a really nice penalty. And it was really nice that Eddie did that. And I love our team spirit. I love it. I'm going to talk about, obviously, we'll get on to Tommy in a second, but the fact that Vieira stood up, he wanted it as well, Cooks. He didn't shy away from it. He went up to Eddie and said, "I want to take it." And Eddie went, "Here we are." I mean, I know he's already got his hat trick. So that was lovely. We're 4-0 up and we're cruising. Okay. But what I didn't understand, and anyone can answer this, if you were in the ground, because obviously it wasn't televised live in the UK, the referee took about 27 minutes to decide if it was a penalty or not. Do you think this has come on the back of what happened at Liverpool or what's going on at Liverpool Spurs, what's going on with VAR at the moment where every club is criticising them? Do you think they're like literally checking it 10 times before they make a decision? It took
What?
forever, Cooks.
Yeah, it's frustrating, isn't it? You need them to come to the right decision, but again, it was such a blatant error. It shouldn't have taken that long to come to the decision. I mean, maybe he was double checking, whether it was worthy of a yellow card, which you could kind of understand. But yeah, I mean, it certainly shouldn't take that long. And as I said before, he should have made that decision on the field at the time. If he's a competent referee, it makes you wonder, how many decisions in years gone by have gone where, they've just completely it's bypassed them basically. But yeah, VAR is it's going to be a cause for controversy throughout the course of the season, isn't it? And it's like someone said in the chat room, it did feel like they rather begrudgingly gave us the goals, and we are probably looking into that with rose-tinted glasses, but it does take a certain gloss off it. I think when Tomiyasu's goal went up for VAR, I mean, I was buzzing for him when he scored that, but I would have been crestfallen for him if they'd have taken that away from him, because he's a guy that, for him to get his first Arsenal goal, he really deserved it, I think, after the performances he's put in recently. But, I'm sure we'll get onto that in a minute. But, yeah, it was a nervous wait on all the VAR calls.
Well, I didn't actually think that. I mean, 9 times out of 10, when a referee goes to a screen, they give it. I said to the bloke next to me, "Oh, we're obviously going to get a penalty then." And then after about literally, I think 3 minutes, I was going to him, "Well, maybe we won't then, because if he's not decided after 5, 6, 7 times of looking at it, then maybe he's not going to give us." And then he did, which was even more confusing. And for people in the chat room, I didn't think Eddie's was. I thought he looked like he dived and went for the penalty, if I'm honest. And a few people have said that. However, this one, I'm going to watch Match of the Day tonight. I'm looking forward to it, especially watching Chelsea as well and things like that. And I'm going to have a look at that. It's very hard when you're in the ground. You can't. I don't even think they play the penalty incidents, so we don't
They
know.
do. They do.
Oh, did they today? I
They
didn't
do.
see that. So for me, I was like, Well, he's gone to the screen, he's going to give it. I just don't know why it took so long. And then Eddie obviously giving the ball to Vieira. Vieira scores and it's lovely. And then all of a sudden, I mean, look, we're going to talk about this that Trossard came on, Nelson came on, Tommy came on, El Neni and Vieira. Then you had ESR, Saka, White, Martinelli, Rice off. And this is what I love. And this is what we never did before. And this is what I was going to say about what Yamara just said. We need to put games to bed early, get our players off to rest. They do not need to play. Well, it was 100 minutes today, wasn't it? Um, just get them off, get the rest on because it benefits us because they need minutes. And we're seeing like for like in most cases. Obviously, you can't say El Neni and Rice are like for like, but El Neni does a job. And it's just I just loved it to see that. You forget, you've got Reece Nelson, you've got Trossard on the bench, but I don't know what's happened to Tomiyasu. I feel like Cooks, every single game he plays, he's getting better and better. That was his first goal for the club, and everyone ran to him. Everyone cuddled him. Everyone wanted to be with him. Apparently, Arteta came out after and said he's so well liked. He does everything for the team. I can only imagine his manners, his respect, because that's how he was brought up. And I'm in love with Tomiyasu. I am. I was at the beginning anyway. I thought he was tremendous. I loved him. Then he got injured, came back from injury and wasn't so good. But you do need time to come back from injury. So, how did you feel when Tommy scored?
It was the goal I celebrated the most, to be quite honest with you, which is why I was so upset when it went to the VAR review. But I was, had another little punch of the fist when I saw that it got given because he's a guy that really deserves it. He's been through a lot at Arsenal so far, played in a lot of different positions, and I think he's really found his place at the club. And whether that's, somewhere in the defence, because he is good enough to play in basically all of those roles, but I do think he's really rivaling Zinchenko now for that left back spot. Okay, he came on today and played at right back to, very competent level, and we know he can do that. But the way he played against Sevilla, the way he's played in other games, for big, big matches away from home, granted, we need him to stay fit, but if he can be there and available, he would be right now, as the time of recording this, my go-to choice for all of those big away games at left back, because he is a defender, a proper defender, but he's also got the tactical nous of when to get forward, when to attack, to link up with the midfield. He's fantastic. I think that comment from Phil Macker, everyone loves Tommy, he's the new El Neni. Oh, I think that's doing him a bit of a disservice.
That's why I didn't put it up there because I didn't agree.
No. It's interesting. It's an interesting comment. I think I know what you mean, Phil, in the sense that he's a very good utility player, but he's bordering on the world-class level of utility player. He's the sort of guy that you can depend on, is reliable. I've never got any issue with him being in the starting 11, coming off from the bench, because similarly to Declan Rice, you're probably going to get at least a 7 out of 10 from him. Not a 6, but a 7, because he is that good and that reliable of a footballer. And I hope, I pray that he stays injury free this season, because he could play so many games for us and be such an important part of a team that could go on to achieve, God knows what. So, so happy for him. So happy for him.
I don't think he's the new El Neni, I'm afraid. I think he's much better than that. But I'll leave it there. I just want to change subject slightly. Fiona's in the chat room, and Fiona managed to get to the Emirates today. Hi, Fee. We're so pleased that you're hopefully winning your battle, and so lovely to see you in the chat room. And I hope you enjoyed the Emirates today, because I know you was very excited to get there. So much love, my lovely, and be lovely to see you at the next game if you're there. While I'm just doing the advertising for Ruth, could you just get the pictures up for me? You can be my little admin boy, as Chris calls me his admin girl when he's on the show. By the way, Chris will be back in our post-game show next week. We might even go live after Newcastle, see if anyone's around.
Okay,
But
here they
as
are.
we've mentioned, Ruth Beckhart, look at these lovely Christmas cards, all Arsenal based. So everybody log on to Ruth Beckhart in our Etsy shop, order some of your cards, and if you can say that you saw her on the Same Old Arsenal, that would be lovely for her as well, and for us. But she's our sponsor, and fantastic artist to go with it as well. Right, I'm going to go to some of the questions because I think we've discussed the match as well. Just go back to this a sec. Phil Macker says, I think 5 subs is overkill. Do you agree? No, I
No,
don't feel.
me neither.
Not in a
Sorry,
game
Amanda.
like that. Not in a game like that. We need to get our players off. We've got West Ham away on Wednesday, which I know he'll do probably a bigger rotation, but Newcastle away next Saturday is tough, massive, and we need the players to have rest. And what we haven't touched on, Cooks, and we must because it's remiss, is Odegaard. Now, I'm a lover of Odegaard, and on the back of this shirt, that is my new shirt that I wore today, that's brought us good luck. I've got Odegaard 8. Okay. Um, for me, I said to Cole, the last couple of matches, he's not really been involved. He's not done it. He's not looked like himself. Maybe he's just a bit tired. Arteta's come out tonight and said he's carrying something that's making him feel slightly uncomfortable. And of all games to rest him, today was a good one. So I'm pleased, Cooks, because I'm pleased there's a little something that there was an issue. And I'm assuming it's tiredness, maybe. Maybe his muscles need a rest or whatever. He's done a lot with international duty as well, hasn't he?
Yeah, and I'll be interested to see if he plays a part in the game on Wednesday. I don't think he'll start it,
No, not
but it'd
I.
be nice to see him maybe just get 20, 30 minutes just, to get him up to speed ahead of that massive trip to St. James's Park. So, yeah, I mean, I'm kind of relieved to hear he had an injury in a way because it explains the past 2 performances, but I'm even more relieved that we were able to give him a rest, give him a break, importantly, give Havertz some minutes. My only slight criticism would be I really did want to see a bit more from Havertz. Again, don't think he was bad. Similarly to Smith Rowe, I thought he had a solid performance, but these are the sort of games where you want him to at least get an assist or something. He that's what he's been brought in there to do. But I don't want to tear into him, especially on the eve of a 5-0 win. But please, he's been rested. Please, Havertz got more minutes. And like we said before, every player basically got minutes today, which is exactly what we need at this point in the season.
Yeah, no, I agree. I'm not saying he's injured, Yamara. I just because I can see your message, your chat room. I think that he's probably exhausted because she's saying I don't believe he had an injury. Well, he's not got an injury because was he on the bench? I think he was,
Yes,
wasn't he?
yeah.
So I just think he's absolutely shattered, and I'm not surprised. Mick Treble Seven, welcome to the show. A new one, newbie. Odegaard is captain of Norway and was mentally jaded after almost confirmed eliminated from the Euros. He remains our catalyst. He sure does. We absolutely love Odegaard on this show. Absolutely do. That was something else I wanted to talk about. Let's talk about Kai Havertz. Let's talk about Zinchenko. I actually thought Zinchenko had a really good game. I thought it was roaming all over the pitch. He could do on a day like today. And these are the sort of games that suit Zinchenko, isn't it?
Absolutely. When we're going to dominate the ball, he is perfect for these types of games. And I think it's quite nice that we were actually able to give Tomiyasu, I don't want to say a rest because he's not played a huge amount of football since the international break. But, again, he's another player like Zinchenko where we have to be cautious and realistic about their minutes because although they're still young guys and we expect them to be able to play week in, week out, and then midweek as well, they are also injury prone and have proven to be that in the past couple of years. So to manage their minutes, to have him come in for today, for Tomiyasu to play in midweek, and the level to still be really, really high in both games, yeah, it's great. And his performance today, well, he basically plays a midfielder, didn't he? He played very little of the game at left back, but I do think he was ever so slightly more aware of his defensive responsibilities. There were a couple of times where he, did have to do a bit of defending, and he saw it out, and he did pretty well. So maybe, the Tomiyasu competition there is giving him food for thought, and it certainly should, because I don't think he's a starter at the minute in those big away games, like I said before. And this competition is just so good for the team. But yeah, he today was absolutely fantastic and really pleased with his performance.
So as you can see, I put a question up from Lynn. How lovely, Lynn. Do you feel that Zinni linked up better with Kai today than Erdegaard?
Um, I don't know. I can't remember huge passages of play between Zinchenko and Kai Havertz. I mean, you got to remember Kai was playing in that right 8 role. Zinchenko's coming in from left back, so naturally, I don't think they're going to have those interchanges that much. But I do think there were a few moments where he played the ball into him quite nicely. It wouldn't be the connection that I would be thinking of as standout. I mean, I don't really think Zinchenko links up that much of Erdegaard anyway, does he? It's hard to say. I'm sure there are numbers and statistics that underline that a bit more. But yeah, I mean, Zinchenko and Havertz wasn't something I greatly noticed today.
Phil Macker said, I enjoyed Kai today. I was pleasantly surprised. I think he brings a lot to the team. Um, I don't want to talk about Havertz every week because I think look, we haven't lost a game yet. We've had 2 draws and the rest we've won totally. So we're not doing we they are doing something right. Okay, we are staying up there. It is funny because I'm not sure if everyone knew, but Tottenham had an open top bus parade this morning because obviously they won the league at the end of October, didn't they? So we're still there. We were there last year. It is lovely that we haven't lost a game yet. So I think Kai's doing okay. Let's go to some more questions. We've got loads. Right. This is an interesting one that was going to go back to the beginning. Um, over and over and over again, Ramsdale would not be number one at any other top six team. Why on earth do you think he should be ours? I totally disagree. Do you think he's better than Onana at United? I do.
It's a really interesting one. It depends, who we're talking about in terms of the big six here. Is he better than Nick Pope? I would say so. If we're talking about Newcastle in terms of a big six side, is he better than Vicario at Spurs? I think Vicario is very good, but is Ramsdale any worse? I don't think so. Is he better than Sanchez at Chelsea? If we're still calling them a big six side, he
Mm,
certainly is. Is he better than Onana? Well, he's certainly shown he's more consistent than Onana.
yeah,
I think that's a very extreme comment, to be honest. I think he would get into a lot of top six sides.
most of them, if you ask me. But thank you for your comment. And let's see what people. Complete bollocks. Rami is my number one. Excuse my language. So I think we're all a little bit confused about the Ramsdale situation. Maybe the ones that actually think that he is worthy of a top six team. Let's go to any other questions. Let's have a look. Sorry, everybody. Okay, we haven't discussed Thomas Partey. Carl Stark, thank you for your question. Given his injury record, is it time to find a replacement for Partey?
We should be finding a replacement for Partey next season, irrespective of his injury record, to be honest, because he's 30 years old now. We need to future proof that position. And that's kind of why, I get really excited about the Declan Rice signing because he, like I said before, he could be world class in either that six or that left eight position. For me, I want to see him evolve a bit further up the pitch. So I would love to see us just get a destroyer that can sit at the base of midfield, someone to break up the play, but also break between the lines. It's not easy to find a player like Thomas Partey, but I'm sure we can invest that money and find someone that can just be that perfect player to sit at the base, feed it into the likes of Declan Rice to do their thing further up the pitch. His injury record is just infuriating at this point because we could have genuinely the best midfield in the league if he was fit. Partey, Rice, Erdegaard on paper is just, it's so exciting. Fortunately, we didn't need Partey today. Rice held the midfield down on his own. I don't think we're in a position where we need to rush Partey back because, as we've seen in recent weeks, Jorginho can come in and do a job at the base. If we want to play Rice higher up, we can also play Rice deeper, and we can have, Vieira or Havertz in that left eight role. If we got into a real sticky patch, you could even have El Neni in the team, play him at the base, and then have Rice further up the pitch as well. So we've got options. We don't need to rush him back by any means. I'll be interested to see how long this goes on for. What is a few weeks? Is it 2 weeks? Is it 4 weeks? Could it even be longer than that? Maybe we rushed him back a bit too soon. I don't think he ever should have gone away with Ghana. I think that was
No.
ridiculous and has obviously played a part in this happening again. So yeah, frustrating. We've got to future-proof that position, and yeah, I'd be looking to move him on next summer. Not in January. I think that would be an unwise move, but yeah, next summer I think we've got to spend time looking at that midfield.
Russ Morgan thinks he'd sell Partey in Jan. Now, I mean, if I'd rather have a fit Partey at Newcastle, to be honest, than Jorginho. However, doesn't look like he might. Was he on the bench today, Partey? Sorry, I
No,
didn't
he's
look.
nowhere near the team.
No, I didn't think so. Okay, thank you for that one. Next one. Okay, so favourite goal of the 5 today. Well, I'm struggling with this because I've got 2. Eddie's third, which was the screamer, and Tomiyasu. If I had to pick one, it would be Eddie's third. Cooks?
Yeah, I think it would be the same for me. I mean, in terms of the joy it brought me, certainly the Tomiyasu one. But if we're talking about just a world-class goal, an absolute screamer, then the Eddie one to complete the hat-trick was pretty out of this world.
Yeah, it was lovely. Lovely that we're sitting here going, I don't know which one to choose, to be honest. Thank you for your question. Right, okay. Barnaby coming up with another question. Who will finish in top 4-5? Are Arsenal finish in top 1? I'll let you answer that, then I'll answer.
Top, should we do top 4 or top 5?
Go top 4.
Top 4. So I think it'll be us, City, Liverpool. That's where it gets tricky. I have to say, based on the start of the season, Spurs. I hate to say it, but if they carry on like they've started, then they're definitely in contention for top 4.
What order?
Oh, I've got to go us at the top. Us, City, Liverpool, Spurs.
Okay, so I don't think we'll win it. I think it'll be City, Arsenal, unfortunately Spurs, then Liverpool. I think Spurs are going to be third. I'd probably take that now. um, Look at this. Phil Macker, wash your mouth out, Cookie Spurs. Listen, whatever way you look at it, and I'm always a very honest football fan, you can't not like their manager. A great personality, what he's only done for their team. And I kept saying it for the last couple of years. Get rid of Harry Kane and watch how they flourish. He's flourishing there. Have you seen his goal today? He did a Beckham
Yeah.
style goal. He's flourishing there and they're flourishing, which is extremely annoying. However, makes for good competition, I'd like to say. So what are people saying? Steve Stone is saying City, us, Liverpool, and them lot. So me and you, Steve, are just slightly different. You're similar to you're not actually. Spurs not in the top 4, cut that out. Unfortunately, I think they're going to be. And people are saying United 5th. And I understand what they're saying. Spurs have not been testing yet, Simples. I get that feel. Carl Stark's going to wash my mouth out later because I've mentioned Spurs. John Rowan, this is interesting. We haven't really touched on Saka at all. Does Saka's form worry you? As let's be honest, he's struggling. Does anyone else feel like that in the chat room? Do you feel like that, Cooks?
No, not really. I didn't think he was bad today. I certainly didn't think he had a poor game. I'd like to see more from him, but I think the expectation we've got from him is so ridiculously high now that unless
Yeah.
he scores or gets an assist, we're going to look at it as being a poor game. I definitely don't think he was struggling today. I would give him, time off in the game against West Ham for sure. Maybe have him on the bench for that one. Give him again 20 minutes like Erdegaard potentially. But yeah, I think got to remember he's coming off the back of a slight injury as well, and he does play a hell of a lot of football. So I don't think we've got anything to worry about on that front.
I agree at the moment. I have pointed out Saka a couple of games that he's not the Saka we saw of last season. However, we're winning and everything's fine. So I haven't got any issues with it. And maybe he's carrying a little something. Maybe he's tired as well. Wouldn't surprise me. Russ Morgan. Russ, what was your opinions on Kiwior today? Kiwior, sorry, not Kiwior. Kiwior. I love Kiwior. I really do. But I love Gabrielle. And this is what I love as well, is that you're doing like for like. Cooks, I feel really confident with Kiwior. I think he's only going to get better and better.
Yeah, I thought when we first signed him, I wasn't really too sure what to make of him. I remember when he came on in that 2-2 draw at Anfield, and he just looked a bit erratic, a bit chaotic. But towards the end of last season, when he played as the right centre half alongside Gabriel, and he looked so assured going into games like Newcastle away, where he was just incredibly confident. Played Chelsea at home, albeit they were very poor last season, but he looked really good towards the end of last season. So I think he probably feels a little bit hard done by that. He's not really seen much football so far this season, but when he has played, I mean, he was excellent against Brentford in the Carabao Cup as well. Really, really good in that game. And he's just another one like Tomiyasu that you can bring in. He's just reliable. You just know what you're going to get from him again. And I think there's going to be many more games, where we can bring him in at home particularly, when we're playing the likes of
Mm.
Luton, Everton, teams like Sheffield United today, with all due respect to them. But that's not to say that we're not disrespecting those teams, because you bring him in and he's still quality enough to merit a start in this Arsenal side. So yeah, like you, I absolutely love him, and I think he's another one, Mr. Reliable.
Yeah, absolutely. Sorry, I'm just putting lots of comments up about Saka. And Carl said, he's not struggling really, is he? Look what he's got: 4 goals, 3 assists. As you're right, Cooks. We just expect so much, don't we?
Certainly do.
Um, there was something in here that I wanted to ask. PW, do you think the team misses Shaka? I think we miss him a lot. Do you? I'm not so sure. What do you think?
I miss him. I really miss him. I saw an assist he got for Leverkusen the other day, and I still keep up with the games he plays for them. I'm not a big watcher of the Bundesliga, but I do watch some of his compilations, and he's just doing exactly what he did for us last season, playing practically every minute of every game in the league, in the Europa League for them. Just a pivotal part of the side that they just would hate to lose. And it has been hard adapting to life without him, because he was such a cornerstone of the team, and he was just so dependable last
Yeah,
season, minimum 7 out of 10 every single game. But the reality is, he's 31 now, and we had to move on from him at some point. It would have been, I think, fantastic for us to have kept him this season, and to have had a midfield like we do now, even with Kai Havertz still a part of it, and just have Xhaka as an option for games like today. But yeah, I mean, fair play to him. Look, he needed a new challenge. That's what he wanted. It's a very short career for a footballer. Leverkusen are smashing it in the Bundesliga. I really hope he goes on to win it with them. But yeah, I can only thank him for what he did for us last season. But I do still wish he was part of the team. I do think he was such a good player.
Phil said, I think we only miss Shaka because Partey's injured.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
probably correct. Yeah, I hope he wins it as well. PW says, Amanda, Xhaka is a force up front, a leader. I'm not disputing that. I'm not as I don't sit there each match and think, oh, I miss Shaka. Melissa's saying, I miss Shaka. I'd have him back in a heartbeat. I'm hoping they win the Europa League, says Wookie Cookie. Yeah, cool. Carl Stark, could we be invincible by the end of the season, Cooks?
No.
No,
No.
exactly what I think. Does anyone think we're going to be invincible? I don't think so. I don't. He's asked another question actually. Thoughts on rumours about Airports Albert maybe getting the Ajax job? Will he be a miss for Arteta? I've not heard that rumour. I've not discussed that with Carl, so I don't know what he's talking about. But have you heard anything about that?
Only rumours. I wouldn't begrudge Albert if he wanted to take that job. It would be a massive one, hell of a pressurized one. Like it would be a very big one to take, certainly. But a challenge that, if he feels ambitious enough for it, and feels like it's a good fit for him, then yeah, can't blame him. I don't think we can really look at coaching staff as being, a massive miss. I mean, there's always going to be someone there to fill in for somebody else. At the end of the day, it's the guy that's leading the pack that we want to remain at the helm, and that's Mikel Arteta. So yeah, he'd be a miss, but I don't think it's the be all and end all.
I don't know. I think he would be Cooks. Actually, I don't want anything to disrupt anything.
We
I
have
really
lost other
don't.
coaches though. It's not just him.
Yeah,
We've lost
no,
others
I
in the
I
past.
know. I sometimes have a little chat with our goalkeeping coach on LinkedIn. Funny enough, he's a really nice guy, and often talk about how much we appreciate the coaching staff. Of course, I speak for every gooner on the planet when I say that, but he's a yeah. I know there's other coaches, but I don't want anything to disrupt it. So let's now focus on our next couple of games. Thank you for all your questions, by the way. Really good, really different ones as well. So West Ham on Wednesday evening. Is it Wednesday? Yep. You're going to be doing a show. Tell everyone when your shows are this week.
I don't know yet, so you'll have to bear with me on that one.
No, no, they won't. What they'll have to do is subscribe, Cookie, because
They
if they
will.
subscribe and press the bell, every time you set a show up, they'll get a notification. So maybe we should never tell people when there's shows and everyone has to subscribe. It's a joke, by the way. So obviously Wednesday evening we go to West Ham. He's got to rotate, surely. Surely Saka and players like that are not going to play.
Yeah, well, I mean, we've rotated today, haven't we? So I think we can rotate again fairly sensibly to a degree. I think you're looking at players like Reece Nelson to start that game. I would start Trossard because he's not started the past couple of games. I think he's one of the guys actually that might feel a bit hard done by. He didn't get an opportunity to start this game. I think he's another one you could have played relatively risk free. I'd be giving Havertz more minutes. The same for Smith Rowe, Fabio Vieira. He needs more minutes. Um,
Kivior,
Kivior, yeah, play Tommy.
Ramsdale.
Ramsdale, definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think we've got enough quality in this team to make even more changes than we did today and still put out a competitive side. And what I do hope is that West Ham play a similar 11 to the one that they played against Olympiacos, because they were really poor in that game. And if they play, anything close to that level, I think we could have a positive result, even with a very rotated side. El Neni's a great shout, actually, from Rob Stevens in the comments there. I
Mm.
do think you could potentially play El Neni at the base, Vieira, Smith Rowe as the midfield. I thought El Neni was good when he came on today, despite only being for about 15 minutes. He looked pretty sharp.
I did notice something today with Raya. Of course, he had nothing to save, nothing really to do, but he did a fantastic kick to Martinelli. I thought was absolutely brilliant. I think at that he does excel. That's for sure. Right, so we got West Ham. What's going to be your prediction for West Ham? Because I tell you what we did. Me, Chris, and Merv did our predictions last week, and I went 1-0, Chris went 2-0, Merv went 3-0. None of us were right. And Seville, of course, Sevilla. Um, we did really well, didn't we? It was a lovely game.
Certainly was. It certainly
Very
was.
pleased. It was great. I think this is what I mean. I don't want anything to disrupt our momentum at the moment. What are you going for West Ham, Cooks?
I'm going for a 2-0 away win.
Okay, 0-2. Um, I'll go 1-2. Okay. Right, then tough game Saturday. Tough, tough. That's why I wanted to rest most of the team. Because yeah, let's get your predictions up for West Ham as well. Um, I I think Newcastle's going to be tough Saturday evening. Their crowd. I know we won there last year, but the year before was obviously heartbreaking. What's your views on it? What do you feel?
Well, I won't say too much because I'm sure we'll get a preview show out in the week, and
Yeah.
I'll save all the juiciness for then. But I do have real fears that this could be our first loss of the season. I hate to say it, but they're dangerous at home. I know they drew 2-2 today, and there's an argument they're not quite the same side that they were last season. I still think they're very good. They've not started brilliantly, but they're still scoring goals at will. I mean, they put 8 past the team we played today, so they're still a quality side. Obviously, they've lost Tonali now. I think Isaac might not be available for that game. So key players that they've missed. I think, yeah, like you said before, Partey would be ideal for this game. I think
Mm.
it's not going to happen though. It'd be great to have Jesus back, but I think it might come a bit too soon for him as well. So those are two guys you really want fit and available. I think it's going to be really tough. I watched them play against Dortmund in the Champions League, and they lost that game 1-0, but they hit the bar and the post so many times. You just know when that atmosphere gets going, as we know very well.
So you're
It'll
going
be
for a
tough.
loss on your prediction?
Don't know yet. I'm thinking about it as I talk. It's a tough one.
I'm
Um,
going 2-all. Okay, that's what I'm doing for Newcastle
I think I'm going to
because
go 1-0.
yeah, okay. What's you lot in the chat room? What do you think? So we've got preview show coming up for West Ham. You'll do a preview show for Newcastle. We'll probably go live post game after Newcastle. The shows come at you thick and fast, and it's great to see that we're having so many great guests on as well. And also, we really, really wish James LL Cool J, friend of the show, and Cookie's other partner on the preview show, well, because he's been really ill this week. So everybody go and wish our James LL Cool J well on Twitter when you see him. I think that's it. I think that is it for this evening. I do apologise for not knowing what time the goals came or what side they came first half, second half. It was all a blur after about 4-0, but it was an amazing match. It was lovely to watch. No stress, all Arsenal. And Cookie, it was just a nice day at the Emirates, wasn't it?
Perfect Saturday. I don't
It
know what could
really
make it
was.
any better. Match of the day.
Match
That's
of
it,
the
I
day.
think.
We're all
Yeah.
going to watch Match of the Day tonight and watch 5 lovely goals. Everybody in the chat room, thank you again, as for always joining us on your Saturday evening. Everyone on audio, we really appreciate you as well. We are getting many more downloads, so we're glad you're enjoying what we do. We try to bring you as much content as we can. Cookie's working his socks off at the moment, doing 2 shows a week. We really appreciate that as well. And have a great Saturday evening. Let's go and burst some bubbles on Wednesday evening. I was going to say at Upton Park. That's how old I am at the London Stadium.
Oh, come on. It
Thank
wasn't that long ago that they left there, was it?
I loved Upton Park. It was proper old school when you went down there. And yeah, just everybody. It's always Arsenal. It's always the same old Arsenal podcast. Have a wonderful rest of your Saturday. Enjoy Match of the Day. We will.